Don't ignore your pennies. Some 1975, 1982, 2005, and even 2017 Lincoln cents can be worth way more than 1 cent. With rare double dies, mint errors, and unique varieties, collectors have paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars for the right coin. In this video, I'll show you how to spot the valuable ones so you don't miss hidden treasure in your pocket change. The 1975 US penny is one of those fascinating coins that carries a story deeper than just its face value. To understand why the 1975 penny error is so valuable, we need to go back and look at the coin's history. By the mid-1970s, the US Mint was striking billions of pennies each year. The design featured Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a portrait created by Victor David Brenner that had been in use since 1909, celebrating Lincoln's centennial. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood proudly, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. At the time, the penny was composed primarily of copper, with each coin containing about 95% copper and 5% zinc. With billions of pennies being minted, it might seem impossible that any of them could be worth more than face value, let alone tens of thousands of dollars. And yet, errors do happen, and when they do, collectors go wild. The 1975 penny error is one of the most fascinating because it represents the kind of mistake that slipped through the mint's strict quality controls and ended up in circulation, unnoticed at first but now highly sought after by numismatists. So, what kind of errors make the 1975 penny worth so much? Some of the most valuable examples include double die errors, off-center strikes, and even pennies struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a penny that was supposed to bear the standard design but instead shows a doubling on the lettering or Lincoln's features. Or think about a coin where the strike is so far off-center that part of the design is missing entirely, giving it a dramatic, eye-catching appearance. Even more shocking are those rare cases where a penny gets struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a dime planchet, resulting in a penny that's smaller, thinner, and unlike anything it was supposed to be. These are the kinds of errors that can drive values up into the range of $54,000 to $134,000 depending on rarity and condition. Now imagine this: you're going through a jar of coins at home, maybe one that's been sitting in your closet for years. You pull out a 1975 penny and notice something unusual. The Liberty on the obverse looks doubled. Or maybe the date doesn't seem right. Your heart skips a beat. Could this be one of those legendary error coins? You start researching, maybe grabbing a magnifying glass or comparing it to other pennies. Slowly it dawns on you, this isn't just another cent. You're staring at a coin that could fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. That kind of realization is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Auction stories surrounding 1975 error pennies only add to the excitement. Imagine sitting in a packed auction room or watching online as the bidding begins. The auctioneer starts at a few $1,000s, and within minutes the numbers climb higher and higher. Collectors compete fiercely, determined to add this rare penny to their collections. Before you know it, the bidding has soared past $50,000, past $80,000, and finally settles somewhere between $54,000 and $134,000 depending on the coin's condition and error type. For the lucky owner, it's a life-changing payday, all from a coin that once cost only a single cent. The psychology behind these high prices is fascinating too. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, rarity, and uniqueness. A 1975 penny error is not just another piece of currency. It's a piece of art shaped by mistake, a snapshot of human and mechanical imperfection in an otherwise precise system. It's one of a kind, and that exclusivity fuels its value. Think about the irony here. The penny, often ignored, is the lowest denomination of US currency. Most people don't think twice about tossing one into a tip jar or leaving it on a counter. Yet, because of a minting mistake, a 1975 penny could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's salary for many people, more than some people's entire savings. That's the kind of twist that makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next ordinary coin you touch might not be ordinary at all. It's also worth noting that the condition of these coins plays a massive role in their value. A 1975 penny error found in circulation, showing wear and tear, will still command a significant premium, but it won't reach the same heights as one discovered in pristine, mint state condition. Collectors place huge emphasis on grades, with organizations like PCGS or NGC certifying coins and assigning them a number on the grading scale. A high-grade 1975 error penny, free from scratches and with sharp details, is the kind of coin that can push into the $134,000 range. The cultural backdrop of 1975 also adds to the intrigue. America was in a period of transition, recovering from the Vietnam War, witnessing the end of the Watergate scandal, and facing economic challenges. The penny itself was a symbol of stability during turbulent times, familiar, unchanged, and ever-present in people's lives. To find out decades later that some of those everyday pennies carried hidden errors worth tens of thousands gives the coin an almost mythical aura. It's as if history itself had tucked away a secret prize for those patient enough to uncover it. Collectors love to imagine where these error pennies might have traveled. Maybe one was used to buy a soda in 1975, passed through countless hands, dropped on sidewalks, stored in jars, and eventually rediscovered. Every scratch, every mark tells part of its story, and when paired with the dramatic value of $54,000 to $134,000, that story becomes priceless. The 1975 penny error is also a reminder of why it's so important to check your change. Most people barely glance at coins anymore, especially pennies, but hidden treasures like these are proof that sometimes the smallest details can lead to the biggest rewards. The difference between an ordinary penny and one worth six figures could be as small as a doubling in the letters, a misplaced strike, or the wrong metal composition. Now picture this scenario. You're standing in line at a grocery store, and the cashier hands you back a few coins as change. Among them, a 1975 penny. It looks just a little off. Instead of tossing it aside, you decide to take a closer look later at home. That decision could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's almost like winning the lottery, but instead of lucking out on a random ticket, your prize came from keeping your eyes open and paying attention to the details most people ignore. And that's the real magic of coins like the 1975 penny error. They blur the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary. They turn something overlooked into something celebrated, something practically worthless into something that can change lives. Each one is a hidden gem waiting to be found, a reminder that history, rarity, and fortune can be hiding in plain sight, right in the palm of your hand. So, the next time you come across a penny, especially one dated 1975, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Study it closely. Check the date, look at the lettering, inspect the strike. Because while most of them are just simple 1-cent coins, one of them could be that rare error piece worth $54,000 to $134,000. Imagine the thrill of finding it, the rush of realizing that what you thought was ordinary has turned out to be extraordinary. That's what keeps collectors hunting, what keeps the fascination alive, and what makes the 1975 penny one of the most captivating error coins in U.S. history. The 1982 penny is legendary in the world of numismatics, and for good reason. That year marked a major transition in how U.S. pennies were made. Before 1982, pennies were composed mostly of copper, 95% copper, in fact, with just a small amount of zinc. But rising copper prices made it too expensive for the government to keep producing pennies from nearly pure copper. So, midway through 1982, the mint switched to a cheaper composition. Pennies made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. On the outside, they looked nearly identical, but inside, they were drastically different. This switch created one of the most fascinating overlaps in U.S. coin history. Both copper pennies and zinc pennies were produced in 1982. And because the mint used multiple designs that year, some with large dates and some with small dates, the result was 7 different varieties of a 1982 penny. For collectors, this was already enough to spark interest. But when minting errors entered the picture, the 1982 penny crossed over into the realm of legendary. The errors that emerged in 1982 pennies are among the most desirable in the entire Lincoln cent series. Imagine spotting a penny where the strike looks doubled, the date appears distorted, or the wrong composition was accidentally used. These are the details that can turn a penny into a life-changing discovery. And when those coins are preserved in exceptional condition, their value skyrockets. Auction records have shown collectors paying staggering prices, with some of the most dramatic examples selling for as much as $124,000. Even on the lower end, If you were to find one of these error pennies today, you could easily be looking at a $46,000 payday. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands in a lifetime. Tens of thousands, maybe more. Most people never pause to check them closely. But those who do, those who take the time to study the small details, sometimes uncover treasures. The thrill of realizing that a coin you thought was worth just a cent could actually be worth tens of thousands is unlike anything else. That's the kind of discovery that makes collectors and everyday people alike obsessed with hunting for these rare 1982 pennies. One of the most famous errors from 1982 involves the mix-up between copper and zinc planchets. Because both were in use that year, mistakes were bound to happen. For example, a penny intended to be struck on a copper planchet might instead end up on a zinc one, or vice versa. This means you could find a small date penny that was supposed to be zinc but struck on copper instead. These rare transitional errors are the ones that bring the jaw-dropping prices, because they're not only scarce but also tied directly to a pivotal year in U.S. coinage history. To put this into perspective, copper pennies from 1982 weigh about 3.1 grams, while zinc pennies weigh just 2.5 grams. The difference is noticeable if you put them on a scale, but without checking the weight, you might never know. That's why many coin enthusiasts keep a small digital scale handy, because the difference between 3.1 grams and 2.5 grams could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1.24,000. Now picture this. You're at home, rolling up pennies to take to the bank, and you decide to weigh a few just for fun. Suddenly, one weighs 3.1 grams when it should weigh 2.5. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be? You check the date, check the design, and realize you're holding one of the rare 1982 transitional error pennies. The coin you almost gave away is now your ticket to tens of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of story that actually happens. People have found these coins in change, in old piggy banks, and in inherited collections. And each time one surfaces, the coin collecting world takes notice. Collectors are especially drawn to 1982 pennies because they tell a story of change, literally. They mark the end of an era for copper coinage and the beginning of the zinc era that continues today. That historical significance alone makes them appealing. But add the factor of minting errors, and suddenly, you're not just holding history, you're holding a rarity worth a small fortune. The market for these coins has only grown stronger over time. Auctions have seen fierce bidding wars for high-grade examples of 1982 error pennies. Collectors know how rare they are, and they're willing to pay big money to add one to their collection. Imagine sitting in an auction room as the bidding climbs higher and higher. It starts at a few thousand, then quickly jumps to tens of thousands. Finally, after a flurry of raised paddles, the auctioneer slams the gavel down at $124,000. The room buzzes with excitement, and someone walks away with one of the most coveted pennies in American coinage. What makes this story even more thrilling is the idea that these coins could still be out there, waiting to be found. Unlike some rare coins that were never released into circulation, many 1982 error pennies were struck and quietly slipped into the hands of everyday people. They could be sitting in a jar in someone's attic, lying in a box of old coins, or mixed into a pile of change at the bottom of a drawer. The possibility of discovery keeps collectors searching and keeps the legend of the 1982 penny alive. And let's not forget about condition. As with any coin, the better the condition, the higher the value. A heavily circulated error penny from 1982 might still bring a small fortune, but the pristine examples, the ones that look almost untouched by time, are the ones that reach those six-figure prices. That's why collectors emphasize protecting coins and holders, avoiding cleaning, and preserving the original surfaces. A simple scratch or polish can reduce the value dramatically. But beyond the technical details, the story of the 1982 penny captures something deeper. It's about how the smallest, most overlooked object can hold incredible value. It's about paying attention to the little things, because you never know what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. It's about the thrill of discovery and the excitement of realizing that history, rarity, and fortune can all come together in something as ordinary as a penny. Imagine the conversation when you tell someone you sold a penny for $46,000. They'd probably laugh at first, thinking it's a joke. But when you show them the auction records, when you explain the error, when you point out that in perfect condition some of these pennies have sold for as much as $124,000. Their jaw drops. Suddenly, a penny doesn't seem so worthless anymore. Suddenly, every coin in their pocket looks like it deserves a second glance. That's the power of the 1982 1-cent penny error. It changes the way we look at money, the way we look at value, the way we look at history. It's a reminder that sometimes, fortune hides where we least expect it, and all it takes is a careful eye, a bit of knowledge, and a little luck to uncover it.so. The next time you find a penny, don't ignore it. Don't toss it aside or assume it's worthless. Look at the date, check the weight, study the details. Because you never know, you might just be holding a tiny copper coin that's worth a life-changing amount of money. And if it happens to be one of those rare 1982 error pennies, you could be looking at anywhere from $46,000 to $124,000. That's a discovery that would make anyone stop and smile at the idea that the smallest coin in your pocket turned out to be one of the biggest treasures of your life. The 2005 penny was a continuation of a coin most Americans barely notice anymore, the Lincoln cent. It had already been in production since 1909, featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln. In 2005, the design was still the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been around since 1959. Millions upon millions of these pennies were struck, churned out by minting machines with almost robotic precision. And yet, as rare as lightning in a bottle, mistakes happened. A die slipped, a planchet shifted, or the wrong metal blank found its way into the press. These moments of imperfection created errors that collectors today hunt with relentless passion. The beauty of an error coin lies in the fact that it wasn't supposed to exist. The U.S. Mint spends extraordinary effort ensuring accuracy. Quality control is strict, and most mistakes are caught before coins ever reach the public. But in 2005, some of these errors escaped, and their rarity instantly elevated them into the stratosphere of collectability. Imagine a coin designed to be so ordinary, a penny, and yet, because of a flaw, it becomes worth tens of thousands. That paradox is what drives collectors wild. Let's take a moment to picture what one of these error pennies might look like. Maybe the strike was off-center, leaving part of the design cut off and an empty crescent of copper showing. Maybe it was struck twice, with Lincoln's face ghosted in an eerie double image. Perhaps it was a double die, with the lettering around "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appearing twice, crisp and unmistakable. Or the most dramatic, a wrong planchet error, where the design intended for a penny was struck onto a coin blank meant for another denomination. Each of these scenarios transforms a coin from ordinary pocket change into a piece of history worth more than a brand new car. The value range of $40,000 to $116,000 isn't just some inflated number thrown around by enthusiasts. Auction houses have witnessed bidding wars that push these coins into six-figure territory. One collector's determination to own a rare 2005 error penny can spark a frenzy, the bids climbing higher as the realization sets in that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Picture the scene. A room filled with serious collectors, the auctioneer calling out bids, the price climbing past $20,000, past $50,000, and then past $100,000 until the final gavel strikes at $116,000. The room falls silent for a moment, then breaks into applause. A penny, just a penny, has commanded a price that rivals luxury cars, vacations, and even houses. What makes these error coins so desirable is not just the rarity, but the story they tell. Each one carries within it the tale of a moment at the mint when something went wrong, when precision slipped and chance intervened. The very fact that so few exist makes them magnetic to collectors. For someone who loves the hunt, the idea that such a coin could be sitting unnoticed in a jar of change or resting at the bottom of a drawer is intoxicating. It's the dream of turning the most humble denomination in American currency into life-changing money. Consider the journey of one such penny. It leaves the mint in 2005, indistinguishable from millions of others. It rattles through counting machines, sits in rolls at a bank, and eventually gets handed out in change at a grocery store. Passes through hands, perhaps gets dropped on the ground, or tossed into a piggy bank. Years go by. Then one day, someone finally looks closely and notices that something isn't right. They take it to an expert, and the verdict comes back. It's a rare 2005 error penny, valued between $40,000 and $116,000. Suddenly, what was once dismissed as just a penny becomes a fortune. That's the thrill collectors live for. The psychology of these coins is fascinating. Most of us are conditioned to think of pennies as worthless, even bothersome. Many people leave them behind in tip jars or avoid them altogether. And yet, within that neglected coinage lies the possibility of incredible wealth. It's almost poetic. The coin everyone overlooks turns out to be the one worth the most. That reversal of expectations adds a layer of mystery and excitement that makes the 2005 error penny all the more captivating. Collectors know that condition plays a huge role in determining value. A 2005 error penny that's been through years of circulation, battered and scratched, will still be valuable but closer to the $40,000 mark. But one that's been preserved, perhaps by sheer luck, with sharp details and minimal wear, that's when the upper range of $116,000 comes into play. Coin grading services play a vital role here, assigning these pennies official grades that can mean the difference between tens of thousands of dollars. But beyond the grading and the dollar signs, there's something magical about holding one of these coins in your hand. You're holding a mistake that shouldn't exist, a piece of minting history that slipped through the cracks. You're holding rarity itself, embodied in a tiny copper disc. That's why people obsess over these coins, why collectors spend years chasing them, and why stories of their discovery captivate us. Think about the endless possibilities. How many of these coins are still out there, sitting in someone's collection unnoticed? How many were accidentally spent years ago, vanishing into circulation forever? Could one be hiding in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice? These questions keep the legend of the 2005 penny alive. Every time someone checks their change a little more carefully, every time a collector inspects a roll of coins with a magnifying glass, the possibility of finding one of these treasures keeps the excitement alive. And what's even more remarkable is how a simple penny can connect people across generations. A grandparent passing along a collection to their grandchild might unknowingly hand over one of these rare errors. A young collector might stumble across one at a coin show. Each discovery writes a new chapter in the coin's story, adding to the mystique that surrounds it. The 2005 penny error teaches us that sometimes the most extraordinary things hide in plain sight. It's a reminder not to take the ordinary for granted, because hidden among billions of everyday coins, there are treasures waiting to be found. And if you're lucky enough to come across one, you're not just finding a rare piece of metal, you're uncovering a story worth $40,000 to $116,000. So the next time you dismiss a penny as worthless, remember the story of the 2005 error coin. Remember that hidden in the change jingling in your pocket could be the chance of a lifetime. It's not just about the money, though the money is life-changing. It's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of uncovering something that defies expectation. A single penny transformed by error, elevated by rarity, and cherished by collectors can rewrite its value in the most dramatic way possible. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you pick up a penny off the ground, it won't be just a penny. It could be your $116,000 moment, hiding in plain sight. Picture this. You're standing in line at the grocery store, your hands clutching a few crumpled bills and a handful of coins. You hand over your money, the cashier gives you change, and tucked among the nickels and dimes is a single copper-colored penny. To most people, it's just 1 cent. Something that gets tossed into a jar at home, forgotten in a car cup holder, or dropped into a take a penny, leave a penny tray without a second thought. But what if I told you that a 2017 US 1-cent penny, thanks to a rare mint error, has sold for prices between $28,000 and $88,000? That's right. A coin so ordinary in appearance, something everyone has touched at least once, could secretly hold the power to change someone's life. The penny, often dismissed as insignificant, is in fact one of the most fascinating coins in US history. The 2017 version is no exception, continuing the long-running Lincoln cent series first introduced in 1909. By 2017, the penny had already seen more than a century of production, numerous design changes, and countless billions minted. But within that massive output, mistakes happened. Errors slipped past quality control. And a few of those mistakes turned a humble penny into a prize worth tens of thousands of dollars. The 2017 era pennies have become the holy grail for collectors who know just how rare and valuable they are. To understand the significance of this coin, let's take a step back. The obverse design still features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, facing right with the words "In God We Trust" arching above, liberty to the left, and the year 2017 boldly struck. The reverse shows the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, meant to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the Union during the Civil War. Millions upon millions of these pennies were minted that year. Yet, among them, a handful emerged with errors, striking anomalies so dramatic that collectors now pay as much as $28,000 on the low end and up to $88,000 for top-quality examples. What makes these error coins so valuable is their rarity and the story they tell. When a penny is minted, a blank planchet is fed into a press, struck with dies that impart the design, and then ejected into bins before being counted and rolled. In theory, the process is flawless. In reality, things go wrong. Dies can double strike, blanks can be misaligned, or coins can be struck on the wrong planchet altogether. With the 2017 Lincoln cents, some of the most coveted errors include double dies, where the lettering or design shows a noticeable doubling effect, and off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't aligned properly when struck. Other errors are even more dramatic, such as coins mistakenly struck on dime or nickel planchets, instantly creating an odd, thin penny that never should have existed. Imagine being the lucky person who stumbles across one of these coins in everyday change. At first glance, you think nothing of it. Maybe you notice something unusual about the design, like the letters appearing doubled or the shield looking distorted. You hold it closer, curious, and then it clicks. This isn't just a regular penny. This is a mint error, one of the rarest types of collectible coins in modern circulation. In that moment, your 1 cent transforms into $28,000 if collectors are eager. And if it's in pristine condition, that same coin could fetch $88,000 at auction. A fortune hidden in plain sight, sitting quietly in your palm, almost daring you to believe it. Collectors and numismatists chase these coins not just for their monetary value but for the thrill of owning something so rare, something that defies the odds. Think about it, billions of pennies minted in 2017, but only a fraction show these errors. The chances of finding one are astronomically small, and yet people do. Stories surface of lucky individuals discovering these gems in pocket change, in rolls of coins from the bank, even in jars of pennies saved over the years. That possibility fuels the hunt, driving collectors to scrutinize every coin they touch. Auction houses have confirmed the madness. In recent years, 2017-era pennies have stunned bidders, climbing past expectations as numismatic enthusiasts battle for ownership. Imagine sitting in that auction room, watching a coin with a face value of 1 cent climb past $10,000, then $20,000, then $40,000 until the hammer finally falls at a jaw-dropping $88,000. The room erupts, the seller beams, and the buyer walks away with a piece of history. For them, it's not just about the money. It's about the story, the rarity, and the chance to own a tangible reminder that even the smallest things can hold extraordinary worth. But the value isn't just about the mistake. It's about condition too. A heavily circulated error coin might bring in a decent price, but not nearly as much as a flawless example. Collectors grade coins based on their condition, with higher grades commanding premium prices. That's why it's crucial for anyone who thinks they've found an error penny to resist the urge to clean it. Cleaning damages the coin's surface and can slash its value dramatically. Instead, collectors carefully store their finds in protective holders, preserving the coin exactly as it is. Think about the journey of one of these rare pennies. Fresh from the mint, struck with its error, it tumbles into circulation unnoticed. Maybe it passes through a vending machine, clinks into a tip jar, or changes hands at a gas station. For months or years, it lives as an ordinary coin, earning shrugs and indifference. And then one day someone notices. Someone sees the doubling on the date, or the way Lincoln's image looks slightly off, or the shield misaligned. In that instant, history reveals itself, and the penny's true worth shines through. What's fascinating about the 2017 penny is how it forces people to reconsider value. We're conditioned to think of money in strict terms. A penny is worth 1 cent, a dollar is worth $1. But coins with errors challenge that notion, showing us that sometimes mistakes are more valuable than perfection. A 1 cent coin shouldn't be worth $28,000. And yet, because of its rarity and demand, it is. That contradiction is what makes collecting so captivating. Now, imagine the thrill of discovery playing out in real life. A teenager digging through spare change for a snack notices something odd about a penny. He posts a picture online, and collectors immediately flood his inbox, offering thousands. Or a retiree, rolling coins from a jar saved over decades, stumbles across an off-center strike and later learns it's worth enough to cover a dream vacation. These stories aren't just hypotheticals, they've happened, and they continue to happen. That's why the 2017-era penny remains one of the most exciting coins in circulation today. Even more remarkable is the psychological effect these coins have. Suddenly, every penny matters. People start looking closely, turning coins over in their hands, searching for that one extraordinary detail. It transforms the way we think about everyday money, elevating even the humblest denomination into something worth inspecting. That sense of wonder, that spark of possibility, is priceless. For collectors, the 2017 penny is a reminder of why they fell in love with the hobby in the first place. It's the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the satisfaction of holding history in your hands. And for non-collectors, it's an invitation to pay attention, to stay curious, and to never underestimate the value of what seems small or insignificant. So the next time you get change at the store or find a penny on the ground, don't dismiss it. Pick it up. Look closely. Because while most 2017 pennies are just that, ordinary 1 cent coins, some carry a secret. Some carry the power to transform 1 cent into $28,000 or even into $88,000. That's the kind of surprise that doesn't just change your pocket, it changes your life. The 2017-era penny proves that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight. It proves that history, rarity, and chance can combine to turn the most ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. And most of all, it proves that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest surprises.